Sonic the Hedgehog was released in 1991 for the Sega Mega Drive and Master System. Sonic was created to compete with Nintendo by Sega, and of course with Super Mario more specifically, as the best-selling video game ever at the time was Super Mario Bros. 3, and for good reason. Super Mario Bros. 3 is damn awesome. I can't wait till I get to my Mario Retrospective to play that one again. So, Sonic became Sega's flagship mascot, and the very first Sonic game releases in 1991 for the Sega Mega Drive and Master System and the Game Gear, like I said. And obviously this video is focusing on the Mega Drive versions of Sonic, so I'll only really cover those here. Now, upon Sonic's release, it became America's best-selling video game in 1991, selling out Mario. It sold 2 million copies in 91 alone. That's a whole lot of copies of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, I remember it all too well. I love the 90s for video games, and although I did not own Sonic 1 back in the day, friends did, and I played it on friends' consoles. I had the Sega Mega Drive 2 bundle with Sonic 2 and the multi-cart thing that I've mentioned in my previous Sega retrospectives, where it had like Golden Axe on it, a racing game, columns, and Streets of Rage, and all that kind of stuff. But if I'm remembering right, Sonic 1 did come with a lot of Sega Mega Drive bundles and was also built into some of the systems, I believe. If you had that, please let me know down below, and you know, because that's all these memories of Sega, they're all awesome. Now, I'm not going to harp on too much about the game as what hasn't already been said about Sonic the Hedgehog already, but you play as the blue speedy hedgehog and run, spin and roll through Dr. Robotnik's robots and his many other machines and massive ass boss robots that he keeps trying to use against you. You're saving animals and collecting the Chaos Emeralds in the special zones. Now, the special zones in Sonic 1 need to burn in hell. I find them the hardest to do, and I've always been shite at them. If I'm honest. Apart from that, it always did bug me about Sonic 1, because I played Sonic 2 first, and you can't spin dash in the first one. Of course, you can now if you buy the Sonic Origins version of the game, but back then, I couldn't really appreciate Sonic 1 as much because I started with the second one, so, you know, that's just more on me. But Sonic the Hedgehog 1 was still, for its time, really, really good. Then in 1992, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was released and is my personal favourite. Like I just mentioned, that's the one I started with. It's my favourite Sonic and my favourite Mega Drive game, hands down. This one added in the spin dash, the supersonic transformation, and much better special stages, which I can actually do, and not to mention that the music to them is definitely a bop. Well, to be fair, a lot of the music in Sonic 2 is a bop, I mean, let's be honest. In the UK alone, Sonic 2 sold 750,000 copies within a week, becoming the UK's fastest selling game at the time, and in the US it also sold 400,000 copies within a week too. So the game was super successful, and to say that it was a success is a massive understatement. It has great gameplay that's been improved from the first game, introduced Tails and the Versus multiplayer mode. It has a great level design, the music like I've mentioned, and it's attributed to my generation's fear of drowning, no doubt. I spent so many days in school, summer holidays, playing Sonic 2, and even now I can always fire it up and have a great time with it. Sonic 2 for me never gets boring. It may for you if you didn't grow up with it and you have no nostalgia, that's perfectly understandable, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is just the chef's kiss. Then in 1993, 3 Sonic games were released as part of a Sonic 3 in One Day campaign that Sega was running. One was Sonic Chaos for the Master System and Game Gear. The second was Sonic CD for the Sega CD console add-on gizmo thing. I've never had that as a child. I went from Mega Drive to PS1, but as Sonic CD is technically an add-on to the Sega Mega Drive, I'm going to include it here because, well, because why not? I have a couple of things to say about Sonic CD, and It was released to critical acclaim and sold over 1.5 million copies and is the best-selling Sega CD game. Now, I didn't have any friends whatsoever in school or anyone. I knew no one that had a Sega CD. I don't think it was incredibly popular here in the UK because obviously it was all really expensive at the time. But the fact that it was so critically received, I don't get it, personally. Now, the game adds on its own time travel mechanic, and which changes up the levels, and the animations are funked up too for the game, so they're a little bit better and smoother. There's music changes depending on whether you're in the past, present, or future. The special stage is a weird 3D track running thing where you have to run around and destroy UFOs. Not as good as the special stage in Sonic 2's, that's for sure. Now, like I said, I'll be honest, Sonic CD, it is a cool game and has some cool ideas, but I'm not really a huge fan of it, and personally, I can live without Sonic CD in my life. The third release for Sonic the Hedgehog in 1993 was Sonic Spinball, which, yes, is Sonic and pinball, essentially, and I've never been a huge fan of pinball. It's not really, it's just not my bag. The game has nice graphics and animations and was again received relatively well, and I also had a lot of friends that did own Sonic Spinball, but for me, even though it is a Sonic game, it's just still a pinball game, so it just frustrates me. The objective of said game is to just fight through the pinball gameplay bollocks to collect the Chaos Emeralds and defeat the bosses. Now please, I'm not saying that pinball games are crap, like subjectively, I personally don't like them, so I am not saying that anyone who likes pinball games or Sonic Spinball is wrong. Not at all. It's not for me, so I didn't really give it that much time of day, if I'm perfectly honest. Then in 1994, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was released, split into 2 games, Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles, which I will talk about as one game here in this segment because they were originally designed as one big ass game, but due to time, money and room on the cart, they had to be separated. Now Sonic and Tails return, lose the Chaos Emeralds again and go up against Dr. Robotnik and the new Knuckles character, which starts as a antagonist, and obviously then eventually becomes a protagonist. Now, Knuckles is of course playable in Sonic & Knuckles, and if you use the cart that Sonic & Knuckles is famous for, you can slot in Sonic 2 and 3 and play as Knuckles in them as well. Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles adds in some wank level design, in my opinion. I've never liked the level design in there. I think they slow down the gameplay far too much and become a bit too fiddly, and I think Sonic works best when you can go really fast, which is obviously his thing. The game does have some new mechanics for gameplay and specials to pick up, like the fireball ability and also the bubble one where you can bounce around now. That was pretty cool. The animations and graphics are of course improved over Sonic 2, and the music was apparently done with the help of Michael Jackson, but if he did help, he went uncredited because it's not 100% confirmed. Higher ups in Sega deny it, but there are some people who say Michael Jackson was involved. The game has two special modes, one gumball machine style one, and then a really cool one where you run on a grid and have to turn the blue balls red, but if you touch the red ones then you're out, and there's also some bouncy ball thingies that will knock you back into the red balls and stress you the hell out. And of course the whole game mode, it's a lot of fun, and it speeds up the closer you get to the end, so it can be a complete stress fest. Now, I dislike Sonic 3 for its level design, but the gameplay and the blue ball collecting special levels do make it fun. And of course Knuckles is awesome to play as he can glide and he can climb up walls, and he just adds a new layer of verticality to the levels themselves. Then in 1996, Sonic 3D Flicker's Island, or Sonic 3D Blast in the States, came to Mega Drive and Sega Saturn. Now, I never had a Sega Saturn back in the day, but I played the Mega Drive version and it's wank, in all honesty. You run around some blank-ass isometric 3D stages, collecting birds and getting them into portals, all the while Sonic's running like he's got hemorrhoids and they're flaring up. It's a fiddly game to control and looks terrible compared to the other 2D Sonic games available on the Mega Drive. This one was a game that should have just been released on the Sega Saturn. It was received well at the time, God knows why, I didn't even like it at the time. But thankfully now in the modern day, people are going back and playing it, and they are all pretty much unanimously agreeing that the game is pretty wank. Now, of course, there was another spin-off on the Mega Drive called Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is in no way a rip-off of Dr. Mario, I swear, but I'll save that one for another video because I've got a Mega Drive puzzle game video on that I've got on my little list of things to do. But for the most part, Sonic the Hedgehog had an amazing Sega Mega Drive run in the early to mid-90s, and thankfully is making a comeback now with the more recent games like Sonic Mania, which is really cool, and Sonic Generations X, and of course the Sonic movies are actually really good and I really like them. I'm waiting for Sonic 3 to come out on 4K because I have the others and the Knuckles series on 4K, and I don't go to the cinema anymore because there's too many troglodytes about that have no respect for anybody, so I steer clear of that bollocks. But I am very much looking forward to it. But please let me know in the comments down below if you are old and crusty like me and you lived through the 90s and played Sonic the Hedgehog, or if you're someone who just discovered Sonic the Hedgehog more recently. Let me know your stories, let me know your nostalgia, or if not, if you don't even like Sonic the Hedgehog, it's a possibility. You can live your life wrong, it's absolutely fine. But as always, thank you very much for watching.